Sutra 37. Lokepi Bhagavad Guna Shravana Kirtanat. By listening to and singing his pastimes and glories, even while engaged in social life. In the previous aphorism, uninterrupted practice in devotion is advised, and in this aphorism, Sage Narad says that the service shall not be physical only. One who is preoccupied with the material world does not develop a mindset favorable for serving the Lord. In the present day, people rarely set aside time to serve Him daily. Sage Narad states that the main purpose of spiritual endeavour is to purify the mind in a simple way and in a manner where one can progress and attain devotion. According to Narad, this can be achieved by hearing the glories of the Lord. Remember me and do your duty. Center your mind and heart on me, and you will come to me without a doubt. Bhagavad Gita 8.7. One can cultivate this constant remembrance by hearing the glories of the Lord from elevated souls. Lord Krishna enters the devotee's heart through his ears and enthrones himself on the lotus of his love for him. His presence washes away the impurities in his devotee's heart, just as monsoon rains overflow and cleanse pools of muddy water. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.8.5. One can hear the Lord's pastimes anywhere and at any time, but it is not enough to hear them from just any person. One must only hear them from realized devotees. The speaker should be worthy of speaking on this divine subject, and the spiritual masters have made this point very clear. The Brahma-Vivarta Puran mentions two types of speakers. 1. Sarag Vakta, one who gives his talks using music. This type of speaker is materialistic and greedy for money, celebrity status and power. He does not practice what he preaches, and his words do not touch the heart. Listening to discourses given by such an ill-motivated speaker is harmful to the aspirant. In general, these speakers will not have much spiritual knowledge. They will persist in their inaccurate interpretation of the philosophy, having convinced themselves that the scriptures instruct such teachings. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, "The speaker should be one who has relished sacred love practically." 2. Nirag Vakta, one who gives talks and does not use music as such, except when he sings the holy name. This type of speaker is one who is immersed in divine love. He presents the nectarine pastimes of the Lord, which infects the listener with a similar mood. He does not care for money, honor, and glory. Here, Sage Narad prescribes that aspirants should listen to the second type of speaker, the Nirag Vakta. According to the great devotee, Binod Bihari Das Babaji from Barsana, there are also two types of listeners. Barsana is a small town in Vraj. Binod Bihari Das Babaji states, "In the countryside of Bengal, it is common to see people sitting quietly with a fishing rod near a river or a pond. First, the fisher scatters fish food in the water. Then, he attaches bait at the end of the hook. And finally, he sits in silence. The fish food has a very strong scent. Some fish are attracted, and they come rushing, yet they do not swallow the bait. And there are other fish who only nibble at the bait and move on. The last type of fish will immediately swallow the bait and get caught. This kind of fish struggles very hard to get away. Yet what does the fisherman do? Instead of reeling it in, he loosens a line and allows the panicked fish to swim freely for some time. Once the fish becomes totally exhausted and gives up the fight, the fisherman reels it in easily. Similarly, Lord Krishna has scattered his pastimes, like fish food, in this world. Some people come to hear them, but his glories have no impact on their hearts. They have some effect on others, but do not leave a deep impression on them. These persons are like the fish who nibble on the bait but do not swallow it. Yet there are those aspirants who, after hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna from pure devotees, realize that devotional practice is the only goal of life, like the fish that swallow the bait. These aspirants are determined to obtain Lord Krishna. They start to develop a dislike for the material world, yet simultaneously they do not get peace, since they are unable to obtain him. These aspirants still feel that they are the doer, the performer of action, and their devotion is imperfect. Thus, they continue to wander from one holy city to the next. Finally, in their misguided pursuits, these devotees exhaust themselves physically and emotionally. They fail to realize that happiness lies within, and the spiritual journey itself is a real pilgrimage of discovery. The Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.12 states, "By listening to the stories of the Lord's holy acts, one attains that rare wisdom which calms the waves of life's ocean. The heart of the listener is delighted, his senses no longer cleave to worldly enjoyments, and thus he becomes a free soul. Who would not become addicted to such stories after relishing them once?" In addition to listening to the Lord's pastimes and his glories, Sage Narad asks the aspirant to sing his praises. Singing the holy name is a common practice of all religions. Krishna confirms the above statements to Arjun in the Adi Puran. "My dear Arjun, those who sing and dance before me purchase me. I become the slave of those who sing my name and weep in front of me, for I am Janardhan, he who wipes away the tears of his dear ones. I do not belong to anyone else." The process of chanting the holy name is a reliable way to obtain sacred love. How should one chant so that sacred love arises? Listen, Swarup and Ram Rai, becoming humbler than a blade of grass and as tolerant as a tree, giving respect to all and not expecting any for oneself. One should chant the holy name always. Though acting in greatness, one should know oneself to be insignificant as grass. One should be as tolerant as a tree in two ways. Even when a tree is cut, she does not protest. Though she dies of thirst, she does not beg for water, but instead she gives to all who come. She bears the heat and rain and offers everyone shelter. Similarly, a devotee should be great, yet prideless. One should honor all life, knowing that Lord Krishna dwells in all beings. If one chants the holy name in this way, one shall receive sacred love for Lord Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrit 3.20.16-21. The hearts and minds of non-devotees are stained and covered with desires for sensual enjoyments. Thus, Lord Krishna and his forms, his pastimes and so forth, cannot be experienced by these persons. Glory to the collective singing of Sri Krishna's holy name, which cleanses the mirror of the heart and mind, which puts out the forest fire of worldliness, which casts moonlight upon the night-blooming lotus of auspiciousness, which is a life or husband of the bride called wisdom, which causes high tide on the ocean of supernatural joy, and which makes us relish immortal nectar as it bathes our whole soul. Sikshastakam, verse 1. The chanting of Lord Krishna's holy name cleanses the mirror of the heart. A clear mirror reflects a clear object. Similarly, the mirror of an aspirant's heart is purified through the process of singing the name and dancing in ecstasy. As the level of purification increases, the experience of feelings from the Lord's pastimes, which an aspirant has felt before, become much sweeter. The body, organs, mind and intelligence are replenished when the body has an intake of food. Similarly, when one sings the holy name and dances to it, the whole self is nourished. The Bhakti Sandarbh mentions 4 distinct types of singing. 1. Singing about the forms of the Lord. 2. Singing about the virtues of the Lord. 3. Singing the pastimes of the Lord. And 4. Singing the glories of the Lord. In this aphorism, Sage Narad offers a positive method to attain devotion. With a steady flow, let the mind and heart be constantly immersed in the Lord. Even if one remembers the Lord whilst eating, walking and sleeping, one can attain his devotion. One can listen to his pastimes and sing his praises even whilst engaging in social life. In the 36th aphorism, Sage Narad elaborated on how one can develop devotion through the practice of uninterrupted service. Here, he takes his viewpoint a step further by saying that service or practice shall not be physical only. One can overcome the obstacle of being distracted with material issues while serving the Lord. Even in the present world, people have limited time to serve the Lord. Thus, in this aphorism, Sage Narad reminds the aspirant that the main purpose of spiritual effort is to purify the mind in a simple manner. By the method of hearing and singing, one can edge closer towards attaining devotion.